You people are listening to Castles and Cryptids. Welcome.
Ooh.
Ooh, you poor people. What are you going to hear about today? Well, today's episode is called Yeh Cursed, and we're doing cursed objects. And mine's going to be like cursed paintings in particular.
Yeah, and I'm covering cursed, like dolls and haunted dolls.
I mean, there is a shit ton to choose from, really, when
Yeah,
it comes to cursed things. The whole museum we were going to go see. Thank you, COVID.
yeah, that still irks me. Like missing out on that. Like I know it'll still be there, but
The museum in Las Vegas, that is. Yes, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
the
it'll be
Tim
good.
Burton portion of the Neon Sign Museum will never be
Yeah,
there again, and that's like heartbreaking for me.
that's true.
So
That was a limited time dealio.
yeah.
We were supposed to go to Vegas. It's fine.
Yeah, we would have been there. What? We would have been officially halfway through our vacation 1 year ago. So,
Oh, because it's March. It's St. Patty's Day
yeah,
today. Yeah, we were gonna be there on St. Patty's Day, fucking drinking it up.
yeah, in Las
That,
Vegas. We were gonna go to an Irish pub. And it was gonna
but
be
you know
great.
what? Now when we'll be able to go back, Trump won't be even president, so that'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be even better.
All right, Vegas, we're coming at you.
Yeah.
So, have you ever heard of this painting is called The Anguished Man? I hadn't. I haven't heard of a lot of haunted paintings.
No, but I told you I was gonna look these up, so you're gonna hear typing every time she tells me a name of one of these. So, are you ready? The Anguished Man,
The Anguished Man, yes.
and
According to dreadcentral.com, it's the most haunted painting in the world.
oh, I don't like it.
But is it? Is it?
Oh, looks like a burn victim. I don't like it. Okay, I backed out of the Google image search. Okay, continue.
Oh, yes, it's for your listening pleasure. It's a head and shoulders of kind of a screaming face. No hair, no real features. I mean, not unlike maybe The Scream, the famous painting by I want to say Monet. But yeah, he's screaming. It's just big gaping eye holes.
Yeah,
We'll put a picture on the website. Don't you worry. There's a gaping mouth,
yeah.
and it's the broad strokes also kind of like the. Did I say Monet? Is it Van Gogh? Who does the scream? Ah,
I don't know
Edvard
painting.
Grieg. Munch. That's it. I got it. Okay.
Yeah, I really don't like this picture. Holy crap! Oh my god.
It's okay. Sorry, I got a little jumbled here. It is currently owned by a man named Sean Robinson. He apparently inherited it from his grandmother, who told him it was cursed. It had been locked away in her attic. So when Sean was given the painting by his grandmother, his wife insisted that it be kept in the cellar, as she wasn't amused at all by the creepy art,
Nope.
nor the story that came along with it. But it seems the anguished man did not want to be relegated to the cellar, and it wasn't long before a flood forced Sean to bring it into the house. Almost as soon as the painting was brought up, Sean claims that life for his family started to get real strange. So also alongside with the Annabelle doll, speaking of,
Yep.
and Dybbuk box, which is also super haunted, the Anguished Man is considered as one of the top most 10 haunted items in the world. Sorry, that was all from Dread Central as well. So the legend of the story is that it had been painted using a mixture of the paint and the artist's own blood, and he apparently committed suicide shortly after painting it. So that gives it a creep factor right there. Whether or not that part's true, hard to say. But gives it that ish.
Yeah.
uh, oh yeah, so Sean was given the painting from his grandmother. But shortly after they acquired the painting, his family started to hear whispering and crying at night. Then they saw a shadowy figure. But other than that, there wasn't any real activity from it that I could find. Although, having said that, the rights to the story have been bought by La Brea Pictures and they're optioning it into a movie. So we'll see how much they can zhuzh it up.
Of course.
Honestly, it's kind of a shallow dive. That's what I found. What else? The man that owns it has been named as an executive producer. So maybe I'll take the story with a little bit of a grain of salt.
Yeah.
At one point, it was supposed to be on like eBay, or it had been listed on eBay at one point, an article had said, but now it's not at all. And he insists that it's locked away and not for sale.
Of
And
course not,
that,
because now he's going to make a movie about it and make hopefully a couple million. And then he'll try and sell it.
exactly.
That's what you do.
So, I don't know. That one, it's gross though. You're right. I didn't find it creepy looking.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Would not recommend hanging in bedroom.
No, but that reminds me, the whole like mixing with your blood. There was a TV show I liked. It was kind of like Pawn Stars. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was like an oddities shop. I'm pretty sure it was in Vegas.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
they actually had an artist that came in to the oddities shop and was looking for like medical equipment because I guess he like pretty much like draws his own blood and then he uses that like as paint, like
Oh no.
solely as paint, um, and stuff. Uh, so he ended up purchasing from them. I think it was like um, either like World War One or World War Two. They had like portable blood transfusion kits that were supposed to be used on the battlefield. So he ended up buying
Yuck.
that, but he ended up showing them like some of his work and stuff, and he used like the aging and discoloration of his blood as like shading and stuff. So he would paint like certain stuff, like the earliest part, so that it would fade to like the brown-ish on the paper that like blood fades to, and then like the newest stuff would show up a bit brighter. So he used like almost looked kind of watercolory. Wasn't super pigmented or anything because it fades so much. Yeah.
Were you a fan?
I honestly can't even remember what the paintings or anything looked like. I just remember this guy doing this. But I was obsessed with that show. It had the weirdest stuff ever in that store. Like
That is kind of
but it
nauseating.
was kind of
You should have
cool.
seen my face when you were saying that. I was kind of appalled. Yeah, that's kind of. Ooh. Is it a male artist?
Yeah.
You said? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, if you're a female, he'd have a lot more natural pigment to work with.
Right. Monthly.
Sorry.
Just have to, I guess, like buy a Diva cup or something. And dip your paintbrush right
out my wine. All right, are you ready for the crying boy?
The crying boy? Okay, let me Google it.
So 1980s. Time machine. Yeah, the crying boy is the name of the painting. So, on September 4th, 1985, British tabloid The Sun printed a piece about a mysterious painting that kept showing up unharmed in various house fires.
Mm.
So, the following is actually just a quote from a Messy Beast article. Yorkshire fireman Peter Hall was quoted as saying that unscathed copies of The Crying Boy were frequently found at the scenes of fires. He and his colleagues were serious enough about this to vow never to allow the painting into their own homes. Peter's own brother and sister-in-law, Ron and May Hall of Swallow Nest, South Yorkshire, take 2 guesses where that is, had ignored this warning. Fire damaged, his kitchen and living room, but the crying boy in the living room wall, this is not right English, but the crying boy in the living room wall was unscathed. The jinxed painting was destroyed by his family. The blaze was actually caused by a chip pan. The print survived unscathed. The Sun wrote that an estimated 50,000 crying boy prints signed G. Bragolin had been sold around the UK. They were particularly popular in working-class households, the Sun's readership demographic. Sorry, that quote was a little problematic. I apologize. I liked it at the time, I guess. So the Crying Boy paintings had been mass-produced in the 50s and 60s, and an estimated 50,000 copies had been sold in the UK. There was mostly homes, but even a pizza parlor had suffered a blaze where the painting was untouched in the end. It just wasn't burning. Everything else in these houses was burning, but it was not burning. And this tabloid, for lack of a better word, called The Sun in the UK was publishing about it.
Oh, okay.
The Sun, 21st of October, 1985. The Perillo Pizza Palace, Great Yarmouth, destroyed by fire, but the crying boy was undamaged. There was a pair of sisters-in-law who both purchased the print, and they had fires soon after they purchased it, one of which burned all the sisters' paintings except for that one painting, the crying boy. And it's basically just a painting of a boy, like close-up head, young blonde boy, tears coming down his face, looking kind of sad, right? Like he's looking pretty lost, but it's there's nothing else in it. That's all it is. It's melancholy, but not super creepy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, when I tried looking it up, a whole bunch of them show up, but it's confusing because I see like 2 different articles that have 2 different paintings that they're calling the crying boy. So I don't know which one
we'll
is
kind of get to it. Yeah. So one woman, Jane Wyatt, heard of this phenomenon of the crying boy painting after this article was published in The Sun about it. And she tried to burn her copy of the crying boy, but it wouldn't ignite at all. So she claimed. Sorry if I sound skeptical. In many cases, there was a simple cause of the fires that had started them, according to the fire brigade. There was dropped cigarettes, a faulty electrical wiring, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was kind of widely ignored in the panic caused by the article. So people were quick to blame the painting for any bad misfortune they had. One woman from England claimed shortly after she bought the painting, her son caught his private parts on a hook, and she blamed the painting.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that was the same, but I feel badly because that shit sucks.
Yeah.
So what does anyone know, if anything, about the artist of the crying boy or the painting itself? They were signed Giovanni Bragolin, or Bragolin, whatever, but not much was known about him initially. The rumor was that he had painted street urchins, quote unquote, in Italy and Spain. Eventually, a book of creepy stories called Haunted Liverpool claimed the real artist had been actually found, because they weren't sure if this Giovanni Bragolin was just a pseudonym or not.
Yeah.
So the school teacher named George Malloy outed a man named Francois Seville as the artist's real name. Other sources say a man named Bruno Amadio used Giovanni Bragolin as a pseudonym, or Francois? I'm not sure. Seville. So unclear whether Giovanni Bragolin is a pseudonym for Bruno Amadio or not, but it's probably one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So many articles, and then they all would cite, still unclear exactly, but likely the signature on the painting is a pseudonym for one of these people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They think, most likely they think this Bruno Amadio guy. Bruno apparently, story of the origins goes like Bruno liked painting these street urchins hanging around. One of these little street urchins' name was Don Bonillo. He accidentally caused a fire that consumed his home and actually killed his parents. So this earned him the nickname Diablo. Some say the boy was adopted and abused by the painter. Other articles say that the boy brought him actually good luck until the artist's studio caught fire and he angrily sent the boy away. So, did he cause the second fire? Unknown, right? We'll speculate wildly. So, sometime in the 70s, the boy passed away in a car crash. A fiery car crash, the article said. No.
Of course.
Very poetic.
It's also in the 70s, I'm pretty sure.
Allegedly, as they'd say on Letterkenny. Yeah. In October of 1985, about a month after the first article, the editor, Kelvin Mackenzie, made an announcement. Send us your crying boys and we'll safely deal with them for you. Because if I didn't make it clear, like, once they made the first article, there was a lot of people pouring in, like, saying this, shit happened to me. That it was where all those stories were coming from. Like, yeah, we had a fire too, and our crying boy was untouched, and it was lying, face down on the floor, like totally unburned, and people were freaking out because of the article.
Yeah.
So the editor said, send them in for me, and more than 2,500 paintings poured in. People didn't like the thought that they might be cursed, and lots had their own unique experiences with the crying boy. More people writing in. A male stripper's fire-eating act went wrong after he taunted his wife's The Crying Boy painting. I don't know what that means. Fire-eating act went wrong? It doesn't sound good.
No, that's like after your sword swallowing act went wrong. Like, that invokes a certain image.
I mean, yeah, fire eating not safe in the best of times.
Yeah.
So, a man named Brian Parks destroyed The Crying Boy after a fire left his wife and 2 children in the hospital, and his home was completely razed to the ground. Like, the fire was pretty devastating. So now the prints of the picture are coming in pretty hot and heavy to the Sun newspaper because they asked for them. They originally had planned to perform some sort of exorcism. They thought they might be able to, but now just the sheer volume of them prompted them to kind of change their plans. So they found an open area in the town of Reading in the UK and set them on fire in a giant bonfire. Yeah. On Halloween night, 1985.
Gasoline.
Throw some bras on there. Oh, no, wait, not the 60s. After that time, calls about the paintings did slow and eventually stopped.
Yeah.
About 6 months after the initial article, reports started to emerge that if you were, like, nice to the painting, it would be nice to you and bring you good luck instead of any bad luck or fires. So this is the pendulum swinging the other way, or maybe the other side of the coin. There was a man named Bob Cherry from Glasgow, claimed it brought him very good luck. He was having car trouble one day, and when he broke down, he noticed a discarded piece of art leaning against a trash can. Once he put the picture in his car, the car promptly started back up again when he had been having trouble getting it started in the first place. He had no problems with the car ever since, and also, quote, within a week of rescuing the crying boy from the dustbin, he had won 20 pounds at bingo, 4 pounds on the football pools, and 11 pounds on a fruit machine. So he was a happy camper.
Yeah. So don't taunt him when
So,
you're a fire breather, I guess.
which is funny because I think a lot of those dolls, that's what you hear is like, don't be mean to them. It's like this whole don't anger that presence, which I'll maybe joke about here a little bit, but at the same time, I wouldn't dare fucking try and anger those
No.
presences. No, thank you. So was it cursed? And if so, like for what purpose and by whom? We still don't know, but we do know it would be hard to curse something like that when there was so many different like it's mass
Yeah.
produced. There's different prints of it and all this stuff. But there was a comedian slash self-proclaimed personal investigator, Steve Punt, who decided to try and find out for himself. He bought his crying boy or brought his crying boy painting to Sir Ralph Harvey, a Wiccan high priest. Harvey invited a psychic rather named Annie Mills. The minute the two walked into the room with the painting, Annie started shaking uncontrollably and felt an uncomfortable presence. Harvey, believed that it could be exorcised still, however. After that, honestly, I couldn't find more about that part of it, but the guy, Steve Punt, the comedian, they have the clip on his show where he tries to burn the painting to kind of debunk it, slash whatever. And he did find out that it was very fire retardant and not much burned even when he set it directly on fire, except for the string that held it. So that caused it to fall over. If you tried to burn it, it caused it to fall over face down, which is how a lot of the paintings were found. So that kind of explained that part of it.
Yeah, because I feel like out of everything that's on fire, um,
Yeah.
in like a fire and everything, it's gonna be the walls. It's not really gonna be the floor on fire. It'll be like things on the floor on fire, but the floor
Mm-hmm.
typically won't go on fire. So if that string is burning and that's all that's holding these pictures up and the picture lands
Yeah.
however way on the ground, there isn't air circulation around it, it's not necessarily gonna burn ever. Like,
Right. Because of the path of
yeah,
airflow.
because it doesn't
Yeah.
have proper air circulation around the sides.
Yeah. And as Pat always points out, who was like a demolitions explosives expert in the army. That's not what they call it, but
Yeah.
for shorthand, he's always like, yeah, bombs are like path of least resistance, right? Like that's where they're gonna go. So if you duck out of the side of them and there's something, or the whole whatever movie or Indiana Jones it is where he gets into a lead lined fridge. It's like, yeah, that probably could protect you, but yeah, it's all about where you're standing, where that shit's going
Yeah.
on, and that's where to go
It's
to.
just like having a
Yeah.
huge fiery explosion and you're hiding behind a cement pillar and it just engulfs around you, but it doesn't circle back and hit you because that's not really how the airflow is going to happen.
Right. It just made me think of the one I was watching one of those shows where it's like, what would you do there? And if you don't choose the right answer, it's like in all these crazy situations, it's like you would have died. And the one is like, I want to say a tornado, and it's like, do you get under the underpass or do you stay away because under the underpass is going to become like a vortex of airflow? And I think the answer is stay the fuck away from the underpass. But get back to me on that the next time we're under an underpass in a tornado.
Yeah, right? It happens all the time. Weekly.
Well, damn it, we live in Alberta now.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. And we're coming to the end of days. But anyway, so you're right. Not all the crying boy pictures were the same. There wasn't even always the same blonde boy on them, and sometimes it wasn't even a boy. There was even known to be a set of crying girl paintings.
Yeah.
Um, so there were, yeah, like some of the paintings, there was like a knockoff Scottish artist who made similars to the original and stuff like that. So there was different crying boys, and I experienced the same thing. I like Google it, and I'm like, well, yeah, there's this blonde boy, and then there's this other blonde boy, and then there's this dark haired boy, and it's yeah, You're like, okay, it's mass produced. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, because
It kind of takes a bit of the myth out of it for me, personally, I
yeah,
think.
like I'm looking at a collage of 3 different newspaper articles, and 2 of them have one picture, and one of them has a different picture, like a different painting in
Right.
it.
And you can buy it on Etsy now and this and that and whatever. So it's just kind of like, you're like,
But it's
okay.
funny because the one that
That,
shows up the most times on Google Images when you just Google the crying boy painting is neither of the
yeah.
2 that show up in these newspaper articles from
Oh,
back when we're
sure.
talking about. But I do see the girl ones. She's got like a
Oh,
little.
sorry, one more piece about the girl. Some said that hanging the crying girl painting alongside the boy's painting would negate the bad energy. Cancel it
Oh,
out.
okay.
You don't have bad. Yeah, you're gonna have okay luck. It's not gonna matter. But others said that hanging the crying girl painting beside the crying boy made it even worse.
Yeah.
They were all the same style. That was the only thing. So my overall verdict on that one is like kind of mass hysteria, inflamed by the media a little bit. A little bit.
Yeah, I look at it stuff like that as okay. So say all these fires happened anyway, then they would have happened. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. Fires happened a lot. Electricity was bad. Like talking about a pizza place going up in flames, like restaurants go up in flames all the time, especially back then.
Right. Very flammable.
So I
Very
feel like if you
flammable.
find a single common thread throughout history, you can trace back anytime they've found a single common thread between a bunch of them, it's been blamed
Mhm.
for every single one all of a sudden. Like,
Yes. Yes. And to steal a line I heard on Wine and Crime, is correlation, not
yeah,
causation. Yeah, it's happening in some households where there is that painting, but does that
but
mean
it's
it caused
happening
that?
in like fires where something isn't damaged is happening millions of times, probably a year across the world.
Right.
Like,
But if no one's writing an article about it, are you
yeah,
gonna yeah, write in about it and everybody realize? Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I don't know, but at the same time, it's funny because I'm not a super skeptic, and I do believe that, if people write in that they saw something on the internet and then a bunch of other people wrote in, it doesn't mean that they're wrong just because a bunch of people are writing about it. You know what I mean? On the flip
yeah.
side of that, I don't
I
know.
feel like I'd
Yeah.
be more willing to believe it if it was a series of pictures that he had and they were all originals, and that it wasn't mass produced, but like each one of the originals caused this or something. I'd be
True.
believing that. I don't believe 50,000 originals, like mass produced ones, like caused this.
Cause they're on fire. Yeah, exactly. All right, quick word from our pee break sponsors.
Sure.
That was 2 haunted paintings.
Yeah.
I have one more.
One more.
Yeah. You may have heard of it. It's called The Hands Resist Him. I love the title.
If it's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. I came across it in my research too. It showed up on a bunch of lists for haunted dolls because of the painting itself.
Oh, that tracks. Yes.
Yeah, so I did see pictures of it. But yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah, but in a kind of way where I kind of like it. Like if I had to choose between that one and the crying boy and the anguished man, I would pick how the hands resist him.
No. I would pick the crying boy and I would just if I didn't have to, as long as I don't have to display him, I would just put him in a box and fill the box with concrete.
Yeah, I suppose I was going on the assumption that you'd have to keep him up somewhere.
Yeah, no, that
I
the
hate that.
boy in the picture looks so angry. He's just like full on glaring at you. Yeah, let alone the hands on the window pane just fucking creep me out.
Yeah, okay, so I kind of love it. I kind of love the creepy name. You're right. I don't know if I'd want to actually have it. I was just kind of thinking of like the lesser of three evils. I liked the
Yeah.
paint style of this one more, like the, you know, the not the brush strokes. Whatever. I'm not an art person.
It looks more like a very like detail like
Um,
picture where the
realism, I think, is what they call it. I don't know.
yeah.
I'm not realism good at that.
Yeah.
So the hands resist him is also known as the eBay painting. Bum, bum, bum. I hadn't heard of it before. Yeah, it's really cool. It's interesting. So the artist is named Bill Stoneham. It was painted in Southern California in 1972, so it's pretty young, you know, under 50. She looking good. There's no horrible story behind this one. No blood in the painting. This Bill Stoneham or Stoneham, whatever, was under contract to produce 2 paintings per month for the gallery owner, Charles Feingarten, that he was working for. So it was under contract. But yes, as you said, with the doll, it depicts a young boy and like a life-size girl doll. I
Yeah, that's why it came up in my research is because of the girl doll in the picture in the painting.
Right, which is like life-sized, and I've never had any of those kind of Barbies that were life-sized or anything, although I've heard of them. So I find that part kind of sinister already. Just saying. So they're standing in front of a darkened store window and a doorway. We will put links on our website in the show notes, of course. But yeah, it's a darkened store window, and then through the darkened window, all you can see coming out of it are pressed against the glass is these disembodied hands
Yeah.
just reaching for the viewer. So yeah, it is kind of sinister, which we love.
Yeah.
It's said to be extremely haunted. The owners have claimed that the figures move within the painting, entering the dark room within. So the backstory, the artist says it's inspired in part by a family photo of him and his sister on a road trip. The window or doorway in the painting is actually a, quote, representation of the dividing line between the waking world and the world of fantasy and impossibilities.
Okay.
That's kind of cool, I think.
Nice to have like a bit of background of what the artist like actually intended, I guess, out of it.
Right. Some of the symbolism. So it's you're not just taking it like as a stark reality of what it
Yeah.
looks like.
Because I can get that. Like I
Yeah.
can see that, like how they're disembodied or whatever. I get that. Yeah.
Right. So it's not like supposed to be like a haunted house per se, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, the window or the doorway is the representation of the dividing line between the waking world and the world of fantasy. The doll is a guide that will escort the boy through life. The hands are alternate lives or possibilities, so routes his life may have taken. It's interesting. I,
That makes it sound like I don't know, it looks so creepy, but when you like describe the elements of it like that, it almost sounds like a positive painting.
I
But
know,
that's not at all how it comes across when you just look at it.
which is interesting. Was he going for an overall eerie tone? Is that just kind of how his mind looks on the inside? Yeah, that's the fun of art, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It is. It's kind of at odds with its sinister appearance when you first look at it. You're like, no, this is like painted for a horror movie.
Yeah, like it, yeah, like almost like a thing about like all the movies where it's like you have your picture taken and it's after the film or whatever. More so like older movies, but like after the film was developed, something was behind you. Like that's what this
Oh,
painting
I
looks
love
like.
that.
Like
Yeah,
after the painting was painted, you realize there was something behind you. Like
yeah, and it's a haunted thing. It's just like it's everything else we're talking about. Like the doll could be Annabelle. Like, yeah, it's awesome.
yeah,
But
but then when you say, yeah, the thing behind you is the possibilities that your life could have taken, and then it's like, oh, it's not like,
they're grabbing at you.
yeah, it's just like, oh, that possibility like could have been really positive. Like, yeah, that's
He was
interesting.
on something. No. So the other explanation or thought behind it is that the boy is looking towards the future, or that the viewer is looking back into their past. Ugh. I didn't think about that too hard. I didn't want to. I don't know. I don't get.
Yeah,
I'm not really ashamed to admit it. Like I can look at a painting and stuff like that, but maybe I'm not deep enough emotionally to be like, well, that's symbolic of this, and that represents her that. And I'm like, I don't know. I like it or I don't.
yeah, I feel like sometimes stuff is like too analyzed.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, like, do we have to be posh? Like, oh, this is that. Ho ho ho. Yeah.
oh, all righty then.
Okay, I mean, I've been thinking about that guy on the guy on Family Guy with the giant chin whose name is like Farthington Higginbottom. Ho 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 ho. Okay, but this part is cool. So speaking of art, I appreciate this art as well. So the painting rather, was inspired partly by a poem written by the artist's wife at the time. So the poem went as follows. He is of seeing visions. His strokes reveal them. In a rush of color, of madness, of mystics. And its head is the highest center. It must confront its enemy. The hands resist him, like the secret of his birth. His presence is the sanctum heartbeat, felt in darkness and in passion. His sounds the sole gift to that silence. And that was written by his first wife, Roanne, which I thought was very beautiful poem. I don't know. I
Yeah,
liked
it
it.
goes in like with what he intended the painting to be.
Mm-hmm.
So
Not intended to be sinister
yeah,
overall.
so that kind of explains like the boy's facial expression, I guess, in the painting is better described in the poem, like standing face to face against something. You'd
Right.
probably
You're looking down at your reality or your expectations of your life or whatever
yeah,
and
because he
what
does
could
look like he's like glaring you. So
have
that does work too.
been. Yeah. Okay, so we'll get to it. So here's a quote from the artist Bill from the website. Because I don't know, you can't have a picture of the image on your website, I think is what I came across while researching it. So I don't know if we're going to be able to have it or just have a link to it, but everyone will be able to find it, obviously,
Yeah, what's
through the
that
magic of
about?
Google. Yeah. So here's the quote from Bill. Both the owner of the gallery where Hands was displayed and the Los Angeles Times critic who reviewed my show were dead within a year of the show. I'm sure it was a coincidence, but some of what I paint resonates in other people, opening the inner door or basement. By the way, I still have no idea what happened to the character actor who bought the painting at the show. In brackets, editor note, it was John Marley who died in 1984. Or how it ended up abandoned in a building, though I could speculate. Bill. So that's a little bit what the artist thinks about what happens to people that owns the painting, which we're going to get into. There is a book written, I learned. It's called The Hands Resist Him. Be Careful What You Bid On by D.K. O'Neill. So this John Marley mentioned in the quote, the actor who bought the painting at a show, he played Jack Waltz in The Godfather. He had the famous scene in The Godfather where they find a horse head in the bed.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows the scene, if not the movie. So, digging a little deeper, the art critic that they talk about that supposedly died within a year of the show, the art show that it was featured at, his name was Henry Seldes, and he did die a few years after the show. So the art show was at the Feingarten Gallery in Beverly Hills in 1974, and the art critic who reviewed it, Henry Seldes, died in 1978. So not exactly a year after the show, but 4 years, so fairly quickly.
Yeah.
He was quite young. He had been about to turn 53. The death appeared to be a suicide, no signs of any struggle or anything really weird, so it was kind of just ruled as, suicide or accidental. So the gallery owner that supposedly died within a year of the painting being hung at the art show, Charles Chuck Feingarten, died in 1981. I didn't have his exact age, but he took over the gallery in 1945. So I think he was fairly old.
Yeah.
To be fair.
To be fair.
Yeah, he was at least 40 some. Probably didn't take it over when he was 1 though. So at least 60 some.
Yeah.
So that one's whatever you make of that. So the actor that bought the painting, John Marley from The Godfather, as mentioned, he died in 1984. This was after open heart surgery, so it wasn't really suspicious either. So before he had died, he had given away or sold the painting. It was a bit unclear, but it ended up being unearthed in February 2001 and turned up on eBay. There was an ad that said the following: "When we received this painting, we thought it was really good art. At the time, we wondered a little why a seemingly perfectly fine painting would be discarded like that. Today, we don't. One morning, our 4.5-year-old daughter claimed that the children in the painting were fighting and coming into the room during the night." So it had been found abandoned in a California brewery turned art space. We should go there after COVID, after our Vegas trip. Brewery turned art space.
Oh, God. Because we're such artists.
What is it?
Connoisseurs.
Bougie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it had been found there, and then a family took it home, and they began experiencing activity right away. After the 4-year-old complained of the painting showing the weird stuff, like the children fighting in it, they put a motion-sensitive camera on it. It captured the boy in the painting being marched out of the painting at gunpoint. So the doll appears to have some sort of object in her hand in the painting. So in the camera, it changed to like a gun, and she forced the boy out of the painting like at gunpoint that way.
Oh,
Which
wow.
is very strange, I must admit. Yeah, crazy. So that, or they would see the boy crawling out of the frame. Also, ugh, yuck.
Yeah, anytime you have any sort of movement that's like crawling or freaking anything, it's 1,000 times creepier than it needs to be.
No, thank you. We've all grown up, especially us, with the Ring and the stop motion cameras and the creepy and the jerky, and it's not good.
Yeah, I don't like things that are like flashes, like strobe lights or anything are my worst nightmare. Somebody I know like convinced me to go to a haunted house 2 Halloweens ago. And so 2019 or 2018. And oh my God. So there was like a really long hallway, and there was this girl dressed up I think she was kind of dressed up like in a hospital gown, but she looked like crazy. Like hair was all crazy and like stuff was on her face. And she's like standing at the end of the
Yeah.
hallway, like facing you. And it
Ugh.
goes from like a lit up hallway to like pitch black. And then it starts like strobe lighting, but not quickly,
Oh,
where it's like a one Mississippi and then it goes out for like half a second and then it's on. Like it was like a really slow, it was like blink, blink, blink. It wasn't really fast.
no.
And every time it lit up again, and this hallway was probably 20 feet long. So every time it lit up again, you could tell she had been like walking towards you. So every time it lit up, and
Oh,
at one of the flashes, her arms
no.
were up and she was full on sprinting at us out of nowhere. And oh my god, the screams we all let out. And she ended up getting really close to us, and the bottoms of this like hallway they had built for the haunted house, the corners of the walls were kind of at like a 45-degree angle. So like the foot like right up against the wall, instead of being like down to the floor or whatever for like the first foot, it kind of went out at a
Okay.
45. So when she's running down the middle of it. And then in one of the flashes, you see that like, she was actually on the one wall.
Oh,
And then, like, she had, like, jumped off one of the 45s, hit the one wall. So she was, like, almost looked like she was stuck to it. Like, her hands were planted on it, like she was a spider, like, crawling on the wall. And then she launched herself to the other side of the wall on the next flash, and you didn't hear any of this. Like, it was dead silent. Like,
God.
and oh, it was the scariest thing ever. Because she stood at the hallway for probably a good 30 seconds, not moving. And before, like, the light suddenly went out and then it started strobing. Like,
Can you imagine the timing involved on that? Like, that'd be so scary because it sounds like special effects.
oh, yeah.
Where you're just,
Like,
they're at me. Yeah, next thing you know,
yeah.
they're on you.
Like, because she's walking towards you. And, like, you had to walk past her to get through the hallway. So, like, we
Yeah.
didn't know if we should walk down the hallway. And she's just standing at the end of the hallway, just staring at you, like not moving. And we're just like, oh my god. And then it's like, suddenly it was like triggered, and it was like, yeah, it was like next level crazy.
That's a big bag of nope right there.
Right? Yeah, nobody will ever convince me to go in another haunted house.
You know, I thought I traumatized my daughter Rain on one of those because we took her to one. It was on like a family vacation, back to the East Coast, see my family. We're like on PEI, and there's always like tons of family shit to do there, right? Like I always just like to go to the Wax Museum there and the Ripley's, believe it or not. Like I loved it.
Yeah.
But then it was like, it's a little haunted museum, and she was, yeah, 6 or 7, I would say. So, like, I don't know. She's always been kind of a tough kid or whatever. She was like, "Yeah, I want to go," and then we kind of just thought, whatever. We like that's cool. We went and we were there with my mom, and like by the end of the haunted house, my mom's just carrying Rain on her shoulder, and Rain's just got her face buried in my mom's shoulder because she was just kind of terrified. I was like, yeah, I guess maybe you were a little too young for that, but they always think they're ready. And it's so funny because now. I don't know if this is my fault, but she just is not. She loves horror movies.
Oh yeah, I was
Don't
gonna
love.
say your daughter watches like all the horror movies.
Well, we could have. Maybe we traumatized her, but she seems to really enjoy them. So I can't say that she seems to be mad at me for it. We'll see. Years later in therapy. It was a good haunted house. Yeah, some of them are really cool. Like this one had some visual effects. So at one point you're like walking on a walkway above and it looked like someone was in a dungeon like way below you, but they probably weren't.
Oh
Yeah, it was
wow.
really cool. Really well done. The one that you were at sounds really good
Yeah,
too.
it's
I
the
should-
huge one in town, Dedmonton. Like the one where there's like
Oh,
200 actors or something every year, and it takes you like 45 minutes to get through it. Like, it's
Yes.
intense. Like, I pretty much, like, this hallway thing was, like, probably, like, halfway through it. And at that point, I was just, like, done. Like, I was just like, and obviously, if you ask to leave, they're gonna let you leave. Like, they'll take you through.
Mm,
And they take pride on the number of people that they get to chicken out.
I bet they
And
do.
stuff. I guess this last year, so 2020 October, they, even with COVID, they had the haunted house going on, and I guess they had the most number of people leave, or asked to leave ever. They broke their own record. It was like 215 people.
Probably more people went to it because if it was a COVID safe thing, which I know it was, because as you say that, I've driven by Dedmonton, which for those of you that don't know is an Edmonton haunted house.
Yeah.
And yeah, I drive by and it's like Dedmonton parking here, and I'm like, holy shit, that is a big event. And now that I work on the south side, I'm like, yeah, I see that, and it looks fun. You know, like it seems like as big as like a corn maze you can do or something, right? Like it seems
Oh
huge.
yeah, they
That's,
build like full sets in there. Like, it's
oh my God, like the one they do at Universal Studios. Like, if it's anything like that, that is the ultimate scare
yeah.
fest. That one is like movie. Sometimes they have people from The Walking Dead working on the one, at least the one in Universal Studios Orlando.
Oh wow.
They had that guy, Greg Nicotero from The Walking Dead, working on the haunted house. Yeah, the Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. I was a travel agent before this, guys, before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Before that brought that to a crashing halt. But anyway, I've been redeployed. It's fine.
Yeah.
Where did I end with the did I finish the hands resist
No,
him?
we got sidetracked.
I think I almost did. Yeah, it was put up on eBay.
Yeah, that's right where we left
After
off.
okay. So it went viral. People started sending in emails complaining of mysterious occurrences that happened to them after they viewed the painting online. Everything from blackouts to illnesses was reported. Not unlike some podcasts I've heard where they're like, after we talked about Robert the Doll, people called in like, holy shit, this thing didn't work. Which, again, I think, somewhat has to be taken with a grain of like, shit goes wrong. Just
Yeah.
because you're listening to something at the time doesn't mean it's that's fault, but it's kind of creepy still. So yeah, my verdict. So from now, blackouts to illness, it went viral. A gallery owner named Kim Smith bid on and bought the item for around $1,000. So it remains in storage in her gallery in Michigan today. So that one is safely away, and that's the end of that one.
Okay. I would have expected to, like, it have, I don't know, maybe like sold for more than.
And you got to wonder sometimes if that's why people don't tell stories about the artwork is to try and like, yeah, get more money for it
Oh yeah.
and stuff.
I'd paint some like shit
But,
painting and then be like, this shit's haunted.
right? Oh, buddy on Strange Brew podcast the other day was reading some of the haunted whatever descriptions on eBay. It was kind of funny and hilarious.
Oh yeah, there's an entire podcast.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called. I think I found it when I was like looking at podcasts. But there's a podcast. It actually, they don't do it anymore. It only lasted like a year. And it was two brothers that literally their entire podcast was just them going onto eBay and reading the descriptions of like haunted dolls and stuff. And that was their podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, depending on their voices, I'm here for it.
Yeah, right.
It sounds So yeah, I guess my verdict on that one is it sounds like it kind of could be haunted because, well, at least it wasn't mass produced. It was one guy Um, I get what he was thinking and the what he was going for when he painted it once you hear like his interpretation of it and all
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it's still mysterious. It's still creepy to me. It's still like kind of unexplained. So, you know what I mean? It's still got that supernatural factor for me, which I really like.
Yeah.
You know, not completely debunked or anything.
No.
So, the other thing is a little short dive I took on, cursed images versus cursed paintings
Okay.
because I don't know, these younger generations seem to be obsessed with things that are cursed, like cursed images, and I was like, well, what does that mean exactly versus say a cursed painting? Cursed paintings have been around for centuries, obviously. And so therefore, when you're usually referring to something like that, it's, they're, oh, it's an evil painting, it's haunted, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, cursed painting, haunted painting, right? That's what I think of. But cursed images is just, something like a new vernacular term that wasn't in our vocabulary like more than like 5 or 6 years ago, as I learned. There was a cursed images Tumblr launched in 2015. In July 2016, there was a cursed images Twitter account that gained popularity and then kind of exploded at that point. Not exploded, but I don't know. It's definitely in the vernacular these days,
Yeah.
because like I said, my daughter's always going, "Yeh cursed." And I'm like, okay, this is one of those, it's a thing.
Yeah.
The New York Times Magazine did an article online called "What Makes a Cursed Image," which I was like, yes, please tell me. So the picture for the article shows this young boy in like the late 70s or 80s, it appears. He's wearing like this pale blue t-shirt that says Dick the Birthday Boy in all caps.
All right.
And that's especially what makes me think it's late 80s or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. And posing with like an animatronic kind of looking plastic face bear mascot.
Oh, that sounds
Um,
awful.
I mean, I remember going to this place. Yeah, I think it was on PEI. Like it was like a family place. And yeah, they had some animatronic
Like
singing
Chuck E.
bears, and they
Cheese.
sang
Ugh.
a song. Yeah, that or what I've learned from my kiddo was Five Nights at Freddy's. So they're like creepy animatronic teddy bear looking people. So I think they're very Five Nights at Freddy's. So the article talks about what makes the cursed image. The parameters are such that almost anything could really qualify, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The Twitter account username at cursed images told several news outlets, cursed images to me leave you with a general uneasy feeling. There could be a certain qualities, like someone looking directly into the camera or an orb floating in the background. So any bad photo you take, no. Another article I read mentioned it's something that makes you question the existence of the picture. Like, how did it get there? For example, cursed image 3920 from at cursed images on Twitter is a photo of a fiberglass cow TV showing a news report about Saddam Hussein. Yes, it's an image. Do we need to see it? I don't know. What makes it cursed? I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like I am not somebody that believes in like the cursed images thing really at all. Like I'd say like
Hmm.
haunting the people that view it or like the people that own the images or whatever that weren't like in the images themselves, because I feel like paintings and stuff there's like a passion or like time or effort that was put into the painting by somebody more so than like
Right.
a picture. Like I get like pictures like setups and stuff can take a long time, but if you translate that to like how long these people like poured over these paintings, I don't think it's super comparable unless you're taking some,
No.
especially if you're not taking some like professional type picture, like somebody going with their phone or camera or whatever and just taking a picture of something is different than somebody like slaving over a picture for days or months, like working on a painting. Like, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, and I was trying to like see the difference between them because it almost sounds like they're really comparable when you hear like cursed image versus cursed paintings, as I titled this section. But it's like they're not really obviously cursed at all. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it's just kind of look to me, I'm just like, okay, so these are things that people just see that they're like, ew, I hate it, so it's cursed.
yeah.
Yeah. So to to that effect, or to that point, there was a list of cursed images from a site called ruinmyday.com. And my favorite weird ones that didn't give me like hemorrhoids were there was a picture of stairs, a set of stairs covered in bread slices, just laid on the stairs, just flat like a carpet. And somebody was walking up the stairs, leaving their little footprints, the little bread
Yeah, that just
footprints.
makes me uncomfortable.
It does. It makes you feel like, why are you doing that? Put the bread back in there. Also reminded me of a forensic files where they found someone's footprint in the hamburger buns. Couldn't believe it. That's an awesome one.
I actually found a YouTube channel that has all the original like forensic file episodes. Um, because I haven't
Oh
watched a lot of them because I was like too young when they were really like on TV and stuff. And I
yes, I only watched Unsolved Mysteries
yeah,
myself as a kid. We are starting to get into forensic files
yeah.
now, and I like it better because like it wraps it up more, right? I mean, like you're like, we'll get an answer at the end of the
Yeah, and
episode.
then because I don't have like cable or anything, like I don't want to download
Mhm.
hundreds of episodes of this freaking TV show just to watch them once.
No.
So
No, there's a bunch on like Prime, is it? I think one of
yeah.
those. One of those
But
services.
yeah, I actually recently finished the Unsolved Mysteries that they had on Netflix that rebooted it. They've done
Yes.
yeah, they've done
Okay.
two
I
parts of
remember
like
saying,
6 episodes. Yeah.
yeah. I think I might have seen some of it. They also have, I did reference their podcast for an upcoming case. Um, shit, what was I gonna say? Uh, I remember, oh yeah, I was talking to my sister Ressa about watching, like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I remember we watched Unsolved Mysteries, like, and that guy's voice and the fact that the mysteries were unsolved creeped me the fuck
Yeah.
out. It's funny that, like, now, like, for a while, like, I wouldn't say I was, like, super into true crime or anything like that. And then like now, I don't know if I'm coming to a resurgence because there's podcasts and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of cool. And now, yeah, my daughter will come running down the stairs if we put on Forensic Files, which is kind of
Oh.
hilarious.
Yeah, I
uh,
didn't watch like a lot of that stuff. I like the like mystery aspect of it. I was obsessed with all the like the
mhm.
CSI shows when I was younger, and then after I kind of got over that,
Yeah.
I was obsessed with like serial killers and started watching like Dexter and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that's funny. CSI, you were right, because I was like talking about that Who song, Who Are You? And you were like, I think it's CSI Miami, but that's not it. But it was regular CSI when I Googled it. By the way,
Oh,
flashback to episode
the
whatever, 2, 1,
CSI.
when I was babbling about Masked
Yeah,
Singer.
that'd be
Yes.
CSI Los Angeles or something because there was CSI Miami, CSI New York.
Yeah, it was like just listed online as like CSI, and I don't really watch them, so yeah, I think that it's just I was like, okay, the
Yeah, I
regular
only
one.
ever really watched. I watched like CSI Miami like religiously, And then I watched like,
Got sick of him pulling off
oh
his
yeah, give me
sunglasses?
some
No.
Horatio. And then, oh, I'll never get over them doing that in Supernatural. This looks like a, I can't remember what the line is.
Oh, I love Supernatural. Oh my god.
Great.
Yes.
It looks like,
They do make a nice homage to that in Supernatural, the
yeah.
TV show. Yeah. Sorry, I have a
Sure.
couple more. Not that they're just random. Because these were like my favorite
Yeah.
cursed images.
Somebody walking on bread
So was
upstairs sounds like ridiculous that would be a cursed image.
bread stairs, like an image to make your mother curse you.
Yeah. Don't you be wasting my bread. That costs money.
That's all the milk we have. Anyway,
That's all the bread we
okay.
have.
No, I got nothing. Okay, there was also to make a stupid pun. Another cursed image was a person's nose ring looped into their key ring, which was inserted into the doorknob, which did make me uncomfortable because I can barely like handle it if a ring gets too tight on my finger and I can't get it off. I'm like, oh my god, get it off, get it off. And his like nose ring was connected to the key ring, and the key ring was connected to the doorknob. Like, no,
Slam the door closed. Oops.
I did not like it. I should show you this
I
list
know.
because
I
there was
wanna
also
see
a
these
dog
pictures.
sitting.
What was the name of this website?
ruinmyday.com. We'll put it in the show notes too. A dog sitting in a living room that was mostly entirely taken up by a massive like Christmas tree bottom. It was like, it's a regular short room, but like it was like this like 6 foot wide Christmas tree bottom, and it went all the way up to the top of the floor or the ceiling, and then it got cut off at the top, but it didn't really look like the top, it looked like the middle. There's a dog sitting in the living room looking at the tree, and the tree is taking up the most of the living room.
Oh.
But you can see a small TV that's barely like kind of being covered by the tree, and then Elf is playing in the background, and you're like, oh, it is Christmas. This must be someone's attempt at a Christmas tree. You have to see that one, maybe. It's
I'm trying
weird.
to find it, and it said like the website didn't exist, and I tried just looking up Ruin My Day haunted images, and I can't get it.
Okay, we'll have to
Yeah.
post a link. I'm sorry. The cringiest ones, though, I don't know. I think you're aware because of horror movies we watch, but I don't like eyeball stuff.
Oh, I had
So
one girl, my youth group. It was a non-religious youth group, and we used to watch like B horror movies, like the worse the better. And she had a whole thing about eyeballs.
yeah. I really can handle a lot of gore, but eyeballs kind of get to me. It's just one where I'm like, turn away, don't want to hear it if you're popping them. Okay, so that's why these are my cringiest picks for cursed images. There's a close-up of someone's eyeball, like obviously a girl, probably because mascara on, whatever. Speaking of mascara on, there's glitter, like big chunks of glitter on their eyeball. On their eyeball, not just under the eye, on the eyeball. And they're like holding their eye open, it's close up, and they're like, look at the glitter on my eye. And I'm like, why?
It's just like anytime I wear mascara again and I haven't worn it for a long time, my eyes hurt like all day because of the mascara flakes like going into your eye.
Oh, I did get that with earrings today because of COVID, meaning like I haven't been wearing a lot of earrings because the masks will just rip them off. And then I wore my earrings today that have like a backing and stuff, and so they're more secure. But then I'm like, whoa, my ears are like freaking out. Like, what are you putting inside me? Yeah. There's just not used to it.
I have to say though, quick sidetrack. One
quick
of the
anecdote
horror movies we watched. Actually, no. So what she used to do is she used to go to, I think it was Walmart, and go in their movie bins where it was like dollar movies, and she found these like bundles of like five five or ten like B-rated like horror movies in like this little bundle together. These movies were like
Yeah.
50 to like 70 minutes long. They were really short. One of them, which series we watched, the first two, possibly three of them, were like it was the Haunted Bong series. Um,
Oh, I may
it
have heard of
was
that.
ridiculous.
Like
It had
wrong.
some actor I recognized in it, which made me laugh.
Seth Green,
Who?
maybe? I don't know. Seth
I
Green? Maybe.
Somebody like that, and I recognized them.
I think I'm thinking of a different one where his hand's haunted. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
then there was another horror movie we watched that was about a zombie. So this guy like murders somebody in his backyard, and the guy he murders ends up coming back as a zombie. And the guy that murdered and buried the guy in his backyard is trying to become a comedian. So when the zombie comes back to life, um, he like comes back to life, and the dude is in his barn practicing his stand-up comedy, and the zombie like comes in the barn and hears the comedy routine and starts laughing. So he decides the zombie's like a good audience to practice his jokes on, because the zombie is just like, that's not funny. And
Oh my God, it wasn't Shaun of
no,
the Dead or
it
whatever?
was some awful movie. And
Oh,
at one point the
sure.
zombie comes into the house, and I think there's a plumber in there, and the zombie's like in the house, and the plumber is like working on like one of the bathrooms, and like sees the zombie or something, and like tells the zombie like, you look terrible. You should, oh, you probably are dehydrated. It's important to get 8 glasses of water a day. And like that, it was like this 2-minute PSA about getting enough water. Like, yeah,
Zombie water. Get your
it
zombie
was like
water.
the weirdest movie ever. I wish I could remember. It was in one of these sets. We ended up getting like 2 or 3 of these sets of movies. Um, and they were,
I mean, it sounds like a
yeah,
cursed image.
it was so funny because we were killing ourselves laughing between this guy deciding a zombie, the dude he killed that came back to life as a zombie, is the perfect one to practice his stand-up routine on, to like a plumber trying to give a PSA about how important hydration is. Like,
A real discerning
it was like,
audience,
this was a
yeah.
movie. Like, somebody wrote this script, people auditioned for this, they filmed it and edited it, and it's on a DVD. Like, oh my god.
Did you watch? I think it was Troll 2 that Russa, my sister, made me
Oh,
watch.
like the kids movie?
And there was like, no, not Trolls. Uh, I want to say Troll 2, but it's like
Okay.
evil trolls. And it's like 80s, and then there's like a scene where there's a bunch of corn, and it's like a corn sex scene, and that's, I don't even know how else to describe it, but anyway, you'll just have to
Lovely.
watch it. Okay, I have like 3 cursed images. I'm sorry. We could be done with it. Nobody cares about these horrible images.
Yeah, they do.
Some of them are
This is bonus
disturbing.
content.
I don't like the eyeball one.
People want to hear about
Oh,
bread stairs. About bread
About what?
stairs. That just makes me so happy.
Oh yeah,
I can't wait
yeah.
to see that. I feel like it's some like viral video about like
It's
walking on weird items up the stairs.
cheap,
I'm gonna walk up.
yeah, cheap white bread, and it's just like got a footprint in it, and it reminds me of this forensic files because they find like a footprint in these, like there was hamburger buns scattered all around this bathroom. I can't even remember the rest of it, but they were integral to the investigation.
It's the
You're like,
Hamburglar.
anyway. Okay, so there was 3 more of my cringiest cursed images from that website. There was like a man whose arm was photoshopped to end in a giant finger
Ugh.
instead of like a hand. I know, it wasn't great, but relatively almost probably normal and easy to
Yeah,
achieve
I could
via
probably do that
Photoshop.
in an hour.
Okay, the next one was bare feet under a public restroom stall.
It's like bare feet on a
Oh,
plane.
yeah.
Just don't want to see it.
No, I think they talked about that in The Good Place. Why are you going to hell? Have you ever taken your feet, shoes, and socks off on a plane? You have a
Minus
personalized
10,000
license
points.
plate. I think about that part a lot now that I work with
Yeah.
license plates. There's been some really weird personalized license plates, let me tell you. I don't even know. We have a car. No, that was someone's email. There's just some weird
Yeah,
ones. I
the
don't know.
government releases a
And
list every
last,
year of the
yeah.
ones that are submitted and rejected. And some of those are pretty
Yes,
funny.
those are fun. But also, if you have, like, say, a Mustang that's like a 69, you can just say, like, 69 Stang, 69 horse. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's some stuff that can sound dirty, but you can get away with it. Or I guess there was a big thing about someone in, like, okay, I don't remember where in Canada, honestly, but his last name was
Yeah, that was the dude.
And he wasn't allowed to have it as a license plate.
Yeah, he had been driving around with that license plate for like decades.
Which is like, okay, at some point the whole, political correctness can go a little bit too far. He's driving around with it for decades. It's his last name, and now you're going to tell me he can't have it because it sounds like, something the president of the United States might have said with pussy on the end. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think they ended up allowing him to keep it. I hope. But yeah, obviously, if he got the license plate to like try and show support of what Donald Trump had said, that would be like another story. But it's his last name. Like it's not a swear word or anything like that. Where
no, it is weird though what people will get though.
Yeah, I've
it is
seen
weird.
Some funny ones when I'm like stuck behind somebody in their vehicle, and it's just like a combination of letters and numbers, and I'm like, but I don't see like the dash or anything, or like where it goes like because what's the format? It's letter, and then
usually kind of 3 numbers, 3 letters, but depends on if it's a
like my
motorcycle
license
or
plate
not.
is 3 letters and then 4 numbers. So when I'm looking at a license plate,
that
doesn't
4 numbers
fit that format. I'm like, is that personalized? What is it trying to tell me? And then I just start trying to decode license plates.
Yes.
And sometimes they're really funny.
Well, some of them are, yes. And then like we tell each other the more amusing ones at work because we basically that's kind of what I do at work, as you know, is like process for members that are part of our organization, like process their registration and then mail it out to them. And then so we just see funny ones sometimes. Sometimes it's like a car for her. Just like random ones where you're like, that's not even something very specific to you. One of them today looked like race car, but you can't have anything that has to do with like COVID-19 or anything like that. Which is I'm kind of glad, to be honest. Okay, so literally, if I wanted to finish out what I had on my little list after the bare feet under a public restroom stall, it was a picture of a balloon or possibly a condom because it looked like a thin, balloon. And it was filled with like spaghetti sauce, noodles, kind of like SpaghettiOs. And then it was put under someone's pillow, and you could see it being placed under their pillow. And it was just so Oh, that is a cursed image. I get it. I get it now. I think I do. No, I don't. I didn't wonder how that came to be. Somebody took a balloon and filled it with
Yeah.
SpaghettiOs. Like, oh, no, did I say the one? Okay, when I was starting to list some of the ones on the Twitter account that were supposedly cursed images, the cursed image 31 was just four boys around a computer, which to me, I'm like, yeah, like 2020. Like, there's no rhyme or reason.
Well,
So that's it. That's the difference between cursed paintings and cursed images. Cursed paintings could be haunted. Cursed images are just
yeah,
whatever the fuck people
apparently all
want
it
them to
takes
be.
for an image to be cursed is eye contact with the person taking your picture. That was one of her listings. Somebody making eye contact. Like, oh my god. So, look at the camera, look at the camera,
It's like
over here. Okay,
any
say
still
cheese.
from
It's a cursed image.
there are so many things now too with like TV shows and mockumentary style where they do look at the
Yeah,
camera, so
the
that makes it
office
even
is one
funnier.
just
I don't
long
know.
cursed image.
It is. I was watch. Oh yeah, we were watching hockey tonight, and then during the anthem, Connor McDavid, you know, for he's a star player on the Oilers hockey team. I should mention, but yeah, it was like he saw the camera zooming into him because they're all just standing in a line, like waiting
Yeah.
for the anthem to be over, right? You know what I mean? They're shifting from side to side. They're trying to be respectful. This isn't the time where they're spitting on the ice, but they're trying to be respectful. And then he like looks over and he looks right in the camera, and then it's like zooming in on him, and I was like, whoa, that was like a Jim Halpert moment almost. It
Yeah.
was kind of funny, but
I have a bit of information in general about why so many people just find these, like myself, show me a porcelain doll and I'm gonna get creeped right out. It's just every time. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
little background to the psychosis. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the earliest haunted dolls were puppets, effigies, and voodoo objects, which were often created by early people for either religious or ceremonial purposes.
The British, the puppet.
Yeah, the puppet.
Yeah. How you doing, puppet?
Hello, puppet.
That's their favorite thing to say.
And so the fear
Carry
of
on.
dolls is called pediophobia, which I had to look up multiple times to make sure wasn't just pedophilia or anything to do with
Fear of
pedophiles.
My last name is Peters, so sometimes my nickname has been PT. I've had various people call me that, so I took offense.
Yeah, no, this is like pedo, like so it's PEDIOPHOBIA. Pediophobia.
Weird.
Yeah, like
Maybe that comes from the
pedophilia.
word
Yeah.
strange. I would have thought that would have had to do with feet or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, ask me.
The fear of pedicures.
The fear of the feet.
Yeah.
The fear of defeat.
So this is classified under fear of humanoid figures, which is called automatanophobia. Automatanophobia. Try and say that.
Autoerotic asphyxiation. Okay, got it.
And it's related to papaphobia. And
Okay,
so,
puppet phobia.
yeah, so that one's a fear of puppets. So the reason why people
Especially
find
marionette.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
I tried to look up specific haunted ones, but it was really hard to track down. A lot of times you'd find information
Okay.
about them and then you'd read like 2 pages on that they were debunked and it was just like a viral video prank that
Yeah.
so yeah, it was kind of difficult
Yeah,
to
that's
do.
working.
Yeah. So a lot of the fear and everything and phobias that come out of these objects is due to the fact that these dolls often look eerily human, but are not. So this actually confuses parts of the brain that process facial clues and body language. So the body often does not know whether or not to perceive the doll as a threat, sometimes causing the person to watch the doll and wait for it to move. So it's kind of like this fascination where you just keep looking at it, but your brain is actually forcing you to do that to see if it's going to move or not, which is why so many people find it creepy.
Almost biological, like instinctual kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can't really help it.
Because
like,
they look
alert.
so human. Yeah. So one thing,
and because they're so tied. Yeah.
yeah, one thing I tried to look up that I really wished I could find a case on, which again I got debunked. The most famous one I could find was debunked. I'm not going to mention it. It's stupid. If you look up haunted ventriloquist dummy, you're going to find it. So ventriloquism.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was some like World War II puppet that people had in a glass case, and he had like motion sensors on, and he suddenly like started blinking and stuff, but like underneath you could see that clearly there was wires and stuff leading up to the glass case he was in. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's bad.
yeah,
That takes the fun out of it.
yeah, because I was like, oh sweet, I finally found like a
Okay.
legitimate ventriloquism one. But yeah, so I do have a bit of information about ventriloquism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was originally started as a religious practice, and the name ventriloquism comes from the Latin word for speak from the stomach, which is venter, meaning belly, and loquoi, meaning speak. So it was literally just belly speak.
Record scratch? What?
Yeah.
Religion?
Yeah, it's a religious
so
practice.
Weird.
So noises made by the stomach were thought to be voices of the unliving who lived within the ventriloquist.
Sorry.
Right?
The voices of the suppers past.
Yeah.
That came before.
This food isn't sitting right in my stomach. It must be a god.
My coconut shrimp is talking to me now.
So
oh my god.
Yeah, the ventriloquist would interpret the sounds from their stomach as words and speak to the dead or often tell the future, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh my god, let's interpret anything, shall we?
Right? Yeah. So this was also referred to as gastromancers by the Greeks, and it was practiced for ritual or religious purposes by Zulu, Inuit, and Maori people. Maori. So
okay, yes, from like New Zealand and South Pacific, Polynesia and that.
yeah. So the transition from religious to entertainment happened in the 18th century due to traveling fun fairs and market towns. Though at the time voices were altered to make it sound as if they were coming from far away instead of using a puppet. So people at this time would like throw their voice like throughout the room so it would sound like it was coming from like the back of the theater instead of actually coming from them.
How dramatic.
Yeah. So
it's just so weird.
So a gentleman by the name of Fred Russell, he's regarded as the father of modern ventriloquism. And in 1886, he had a permanent residency at the Palace Theatre in London. And his act was a back and forth act with a cheeky boy dummy he had named Coster Joe.
Coster Joe, what do you know?
Yeah. So that's a little bit about ventriloquism.
God.
I really wish I could give you guys a case on like an actual haunted ventriloquist dummy because I feel like with like Goosebumps and stuff like that, and a lot of horror movies.
That was big.
Yeah,
right,
a lot of horror movies like the ventriloquist dummy, and in my opinion, is like one of the creepiest things ever. So I was really disappointed I wasn't really able to track down an actual case. But yeah, it was kind of interesting the
Kind of reminds me of
history of it.
I was gonna say, yeah, it reminds, I don't know why it reminds me of Chucky because I guess he's not really ventriloquist, like he's supposed to be like kind of that battery operated doll, but like, his face and like like when their mouths just move,
Yeah.
like and the bottom jaw just kind of comes down, all yeah,
Yeah.
all gross and you're like, ew, that's not natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have some information about some specific haunted dolls. So the first one we're going to talk about,
Oh, I love haunted dolls.
yeah, is probably one of the absolute most famous, Annabelle. I'm sure almost everybody's heard about Annabelle. If you've watched the movie,
Especially the movie. Hmm.
yeah, but I didn't know until I actually um looked at pictures of Annabelle that she's a Raggedy Ann doll. She's not what's depicted in the movies at all. Actually looks like quite a
Right.
cute little like Raggedy Ann doll, in my opinion.
I think sometimes they zhuzh it up, as you would say, or almost like make it more creepy, zhuzh it down.
Yeah, like Annabelle.
And they try to make it like, oh yeah,
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 Annabelle in like the movie almost looked like a porcelain doll with like, for lack of a better analogy, like the Wendy's girl, like red hair
hmm
and pigtails, but looks like a porcelain doll. And Annabelle in real life is actually like a Raggedy Ann,
right.
like cloth doll with like yarn for hair. Like looks
Oh,
nothing like the movie depiction.
and I think I even heard a brief story about a haunted porcelain doll. So it's not like they're not out there. Maybe not, it wasn't a long story, like I say. Maybe not enough to make a movie out of or a podcast case or whatever, but it was like a shallow dive.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I guess they exist, but like, it's like, yeah, they just sometimes in the movies just have to dramatize things so much and they take it, kind of their artistic liberty,
Yeah.
as it were.
So, Annabelle, so she's
Mm.
currently enclosed in a glass case in the collection of famous paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren. So,
The
yeah,
Warrens! I love them. I love all the movies, the Conjurings.
yeah, I like them. They're pretty cool.
So good.
So, Annabelle's a famously haunted Raggedy Ann doll. She was given to a young nursing student by her mother in the year 1970. So, this doll
Oh,
reportedly would move around the apartment when they were not home. The doll also left notes asking for help, and at one point allegedly attacked
ew.
her roommate's boyfriend.
Attacked? Holy
Yeah.
shit.
So one
That's
morning, when
a bit
blood
much.
was found on Annabelle's dress, the girls living in the apartment called a psychic who revealed that the doll was possessed by the spirit of a girl named Annabelle. And at this time is when the Warrens were called, and they were actually given over possession of Annabelle, and they have housed her ever since in their collection.
Right, because they do kind of do that to provide not a sanctuary, that's not really the right word, but like they just try to keep it out of harming other people's way.
Yeah,
They have all those collective like haunted things, yeah, and they're like little museum, but not a museum for people to go and look at. It's just more to keep them under wraps and try and keep them as safe as
yeah.
possible, which is really cool,
So another cool one, if you haven't
but crazy.
heard of the doll itself, you've probably heard of its adaptation in movies. So this is Robert the Doll.
Oh, he's like my
Yeah.
favorite that I've heard stories about. So,
Yeah, so
hmm
Robert the Doll, he's actually the inspiration for the Chucky doll in the Child's Play series.
right, okay, that's what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, that's pretty
So I
cool.
actually looking at Robert
Yeah.
the Doll, he's pretty freaking cute. I like don't get weird vibes. Some of these ones, like when you look at, you understand why people associate them with being haunted, but honestly, Robert the doll is just a cute little boy doll in like a little sailor's outfit with a tiny dog. Like he's so cute.
The outfit is cute, I'll grant you
Yeah.
that. But like it was so wooden face is so like pockmarked with those like holes and stuff. Like I was listening to a description and they were like, he looks like he's in anaphylactic shock. Because his face is just kind of, you know what I mean? Like it's not like sharp features or whatever. It's just kind of like eye sockets and an amorphous blob almost. I don't
Oh, that
know. I
might have
was
been
like, yeah.
pictures you were looking at.
But he's got like marks in his face from what I've seen. Do you know what I mean?
Not like from what I saw.
The sailor's outfit, but then like when you zoom in at like the face and stuff, it's just like I think it was made of wood. I don't know. Yeah, it just looked really like decrepit. Like something was termites were eating away this little face or something. We'll post some
Oh, from
pictures
like
onto
straight on, I guess.
the
Yeah.
website.
I think his face is
Yeah,
made of
but
cloth,
like
so he's probably just being slowly eaten by moths.
probably, which just adds to the creep factor
Yeah.
either way.
So Robert is a life-size doll and was reportedly made by the famous Steve toy company in Germany. It was given to the Florida artist Robert Eugene Otto as a birthday present when he was a child in 1904.
Eugene, that's my dad's name.
Yeah. Uh, so the doll wears a sailor suit.
Eugene the doll.
No,
No,
the
sorry.
doll wears a sailor suit,
That was-
which is believed to be the childhood outfit of the real Robert. Um, so the doll is reported to change expressions and move around on its own.
Is like the real Robert meaning like someone like the soul that haunts the doll, or the Robert that owns him, like Robert Eugene Otto.
Robert Eugene Otto, like a outfit he
Okay.
wore as a child, is the outfit that Robert the doll
Uh,
wears.
Ew, I didn't know that. That's kind of a gross detail.
It's actually like quite common
Okay.
in these. Yeah.
Ew. I don't like it.
So
It's just even more like if something's gonna haunt your like if your kid were to unfortunately die and they had a doll that looked like them,
well,
seems to me they would be more likely to
we will talk about that in a few minutes because I have a doozy of a
okay.
story. So, Robert the
All
doll is
right.
reported to change expressions and move around on his own. And the doll has been blamed on, or Robert, the human boy, often blamed his misdeeds on the life-size
Yes.
doll, and also reportedly had conversations that were heard between Robert and the doll, with the doll often responding. So this is other people that, like, in a different room that could hear both of their voices.
I don't like
Yeah.
that.
So the doll was also blamed for financial collapse, broken bones, car accidents. So not very good. And Robert the
No.
doll remained at the house until the owner's death. Uh, and new owners kept the doll for approximately 20 years. Um, but I think when they left or moved, the doll now resides in a museum in Key West. That's all that's really said, and he's on display.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised it wasn't in Zach Bagans' one in the Museum of Haunted whatever things in Vegas, actually. But no, he hasn't got
No.
it.
So,
Um, is that was that the end of the rod about the
yeah,
doll? Because I have one more
sure.
thing to say about him. I was listening to the other lovely Canadian podcast, Strange Brew, and he was talking about how Ozzy Osbourne had Robert the doll or a cloth replica version of Robert the doll. Because like it's like you said, he got blamed for things. Like I guess like the kid that owned him would be like, Robert did it, Robert
Yeah.
did it. I always found that really creepy.
Oh,
But then like I guess Ozzy got it in like 2019, and it was like, yeah, I looked it up, and you could read stories too where he'd be like, he blamed it for like he had health issues that year that he got it, and I think they talked about it on him and his son Jax. They had a show where they were like traveling around the world, like not the Osbournes one where they just sat around at their house and stuff, but like can't remember what it's called, but it's like they were him and Jack were traveling all around, and yeah, I guess I don't know. Like they talked about he had the doll, and they all this bad luck happened to him, and he was like, "Okay, Jack, I believe in this doll now.
Oh
Whatever."
wow.
This is all this stuff is happening, and I was like, "What? I don't remember that." But yeah, it turned out it was like he he blamed it on his misfortune that year or whatever. So it was
Yeah.
interesting for sure. That was cool. I like Ozzy.
So the
He's funny.
the next one is kind of a shallow dive. And it's a doll
Hmm.
called Mandy. So Mandy is kind of mischievous in like a funny way. Um, sort of. So
Okay.
Mandy must be kept in her own display case, as she is known for knocking over other dolls that she was displayed with, which I thought was just hilarious. Her just like
Ew.
shoving
Really?
over other dolls and being like, "I'm the only one that gets to sit." Like, yeah,
Me, I'm a diva.
yeah.
Yeah, I may have come across her. Is she porcelain? Because I knew I had read about
I
one
originally
porcelain,
looked these
the
up when I
short
was
guy.
doing it,
Yeah.
but I do not remember what they look like at all.
Okay, okay.
Um,
I listened to that one yesterday that I was talking about, so I think that might have been the porcelain doll that I was reading. It sounds
yeah,
familiar,
Mandy the
the
doll
Mandy
is like
name.
a creepy looking porcelain doll that looks like it got punched in the face. Yeah. It has like scars on
Why
one
would you?
half of its face, like around its eye. It looks like it got cut in the face with like a sword. Like,
Oh,
yeah. So
wow,
staff at the
that's crazy.
Quinzel, no, Cusnell, yeah, staff at the Cusnell Museum report missing lunches and visitors' cameras failing when people try to take her picture. So apparently not only does
Oh
she
wow.
knock over other dolls, but she steals lunches and makes visitors to the museum's cameras not work when they want to take a picture of her.
Oh, that reminds me of Robert, because didn't it say somewhere that like if you disrespected him, like he'd be, that's when shit would go wrong for you. You couldn't be like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. That always kind of creeps me out.
So Mandy the doll is a porcelain baby doll. She's manufactured in Europe around 1910. So the woman who donated her to the museum said that she was getting rid of the doll because it cried at night, which is creepy.
Yeah, and she is porcelain, you just said.
Yeah.
Okay, that like it's all gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one I think is by far the creepiest doll I looked up doing my research. It is called Letta,
Yeah.
Letta. When you look her up, she just looks like a little gremlin. Like just oh yeah, I do not like her
Gross.
face and anything, her hair.
I don't think I heard of this one.
Yeah, so Letta's pretty
It
creepy.
reminds me of that actress. Greta. What's that?
Oh, I said Letta's
Sorry.
pretty creepy.
Okay.
So Letta is also known as Letta Me Out, which I thought was kind of funny. And she is actually a child-sized figurine that is approximately 200 years old and is made out of carved wood and real human hair. So when you look her up, they show pictures of her sitting in a chair. She looks like the eyes of like a 7 or 8-year-old. Like real creepy. Like they have pictures of her sitting in like a children's chair.
That That's kind of creepy. I don't know why they got to do that life-size thing because they did that with Barbies too. So it's not like they haven't done it in modern times, and it's just kind of weird,
Yeah.
you know?
The doll's owner claims that they found her in the 1970s while exploring a deserted home in Wagga Wagga, Australia. Wagga Wagga.
Waka
Yeah.
waka. Waka waka. The Muppets.
Oh, I never watched the Muppets. Yes.
Oh, that's Fozzie Bear.
Oh.
Mm.
So the owner reported items moving in the house, scuff marks on the floor. The owner's children complained of nightmares and waking up screaming that Letta was talking and moving on its own. Dogs reportedly turn aggressive
Yeah,
whenever they're near the doll, and some people claim that they've even seen the doll move, which,
thanks. I hate
yeah,
it.
thanks. So, owners attempted to sell Letta, and they had actually like arranged a purchase. They put her in the vehicle, drove to the drop-off where they were like literally going to sell her. But when they got there, they discovered that they were physically unable to remove the doll from the vehicle. So they put the doll in the vehicle, drove to
Go.
the purchase location, and attempted to sell her, but they physically could not remove her from the vehicle. Like, yeah.
Can you imagine? It's just like it's cemented
Yeah.
down or something.
So the sale
What the
actually
heck?
didn't go through because they were unable to get the doll out of the vehicle. And Letta actually currently tours with the owner that found her, I believe, in the 1970s. And you can take pictures with the doll on your lap. So they tour around the country and you can take pictures with her. So, which,
If you're
yeah,
crazy.
there's pictures online of people with her sitting on their lap, which is real creepy. Like,
Yeah. I don't think I
yeah, no,
would.
she's like
I don't know.
one doll. Like her head is the size of a person's head. Like this doll is like very
Ooh.
creepy. Like,
I really want to be
yeah,
your
it just looks like a
friend.
cartoon like witch out of a face carved from wood that's like
Oh,
smiling. Like it just, oh,
a rectus smile.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, thank you. I'm good.
So I have
Yeah,
a
that's
slight
creepy.
detour because I wanted to save my favorite for last. So, slight detour, we are going to talk
Ooh.
about a haunted doll island in Mexico.
Oh, yes. I'm a little bit familiar. It just sounds
Yeah, so
disgusting.
it's been covered. I think there's only what? I think it's the Ghost Hunters, and then BuzzFeed Unsolved, when they were doing their supernatural episodes that have traveled to the island, because it's only,
I heard Ghost Adventures
yeah,
went
Ghost
there, yes.
Adventures.
I don't know. I watched Ghost Hunters. I'm not, and I don't remember if they went there. Because I did like those guys. They were a little bit kind of practical, like the more Scully of the Scully and Mulder, like the more
Yeah.
skeptical. Where like it seems a lot of people like the Ghost Adventures,
Hmm.
but they like are like the guys kind of cheesy. I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
great.
so this haunted doll island is located in Mexico
Hmm.
and it's filled with hundreds of dolls. So the island actually is made of chinampas, which it was actually invented by the Aztecs, which is kind of cool. So um, there
Oh.
at this time, like a lot of the waters and everything were flooded, so it was really hard to farm. So the Aztecs invented these chinampas. So they're floating islands made from interwoven reeds with stakes that formed beneath the water's surface, creating underwater fences to keep dirt in place. And they were able to like keep adding dirt in these like fences,
Oh.
and then they were able to build these like little like 10 feet by 10 feet islands. So then they farmed on those islands. And then to get from each of these chinampas or islands from one to another, you had to be in like a boat. So this island is essentially
That's
made
pretty
up of
crazy.
dozens of these left over from the Aztecs. There's like little bridges and everything. There's a lot more dirt now than there was. And this island is like accessible
Wow.
only by going down the river.
Right. I had seen something similar on The Amazing Race. They had to do a like a floating garden
Yeah,
type of task where I was like, wow, they're just planting that and it's like on a bamboo raft and it obviously, isn't gonna have roots down 6 feet under or
mhm,
whatever. I was just like, that's so
yeah.
cool. Hmm.
So the island is located in the channels of Xochimilco, which is south of the center of Mexico City,
Sure.
and is very close to the
Mm.
Estadio Azteca football stadium. Um, so it's actually one of the main attractions, of course, if you're traveling through these channels by boat. So dolls of various styles and colors are found throughout the island and were originally placed by the former owner of the island, Don Julian Santana Barrera. So Julian believed that the dolls
Okay.
helped to chase away the spirit of a girl who had drowned near one of the Chinampas years ago. So when this little girl had
Right.
drowned, which they've never proven that this little girl ever existed, but he has actually said that when he
Hmm.
found the body of the little girl, he apparently found a doll floating nearby and assumed that it belonged to the little girl. And because he was kind of an outcast,
Right.
and was kind of living off the grid, he grew food, and pretty much people coming up and down the channel would just trade with him for food that he grew on these chanampas. So when he found the doll floating nearby,
Yeah.
assuming it belonged to the girl, he hung it from a tree as a sign of respect for her death. And when Julian died in 2001 of a heart attack, sources say he was actually found floating in water close to the same spot where he claimed that this little girl had drowned.
Ew. How?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
So you are correct. So in addition to the island being
They drown
purchased
some
or
trees.
featured on Ghost Adventures and BuzzFeed Unsolved, it's also featured in the Amazon Prime show Lore. Is that where you've heard about it?
Probably. I've definitely heard it on a few podcasts, I
Oh,
think,
okay.
so far.
So
But like not always dive, so it's really interesting because I'm like, I don't
yeah,
get
when
it. Other than, yeah, like girl died, it's
yeah,
still kind of
like
like
when BuzzFeed
mysterious, but
Unsolved went there, they pretty much it was really creepy. There was like a different types of dolls there too, not like teddy bears, stuff like that that are left. People leave dolls and stuff
yeah.
for Julian and the little girl. Um, but right, I guess the
Oh,
island, if you watch the BuzzFeed Unsolved episode at least, it's one of their first episodes. They do it when they go to the Winchester house, and they went to one other location as
mm,
well. So it was like a
that,
45-minute long episode, which they don't do anymore.
oh
And they
wow.
pretty much ended up fleeing from the island because there was so many spiders everywhere. That were large, large spiders that they feared that they could end up being bit by these spiders. So they ended up leaving.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's
So
scary. That could have
yeah, so
literally
that's
killed
why they
them.
ended up leaving. They were originally planning to stay, I believe, overnight on the island, but they ended up leaving shortly, I think after the sun went down because the spiders were really getting bad. So they pretty much ran off the island and back to the boat. Yeah.
Wow.
So in
Holy
addition
shit.
to literally hundreds of dolls, the island also contains a small museum that Julian had made that were out of articles from local newspapers about the island and the previous owner. There's a little store there and 3 rooms, one of which was actually a small bedroom with like a bed roll, like just laying on the ground, which is apparently where Julian slept. And in this room is the first doll that Julian collected, as well as Augustinta, which was his favorite doll. So if you do watch the BuzzFeed Unsolved episode, it shows you which doll was the first one that he found, as well as which one was his favorite doll. So some of the visitors place offerings around this doll in exchange for miracles and blessings, and some others change their clothes and maintain it as a form of worship. So they are kind of treated as like a religious kind of like kind of
It's like
yeah,
a shrine or something almost.
Yeah.
That's definitely just not somewhere I want to
No, it
vacation
was
though.
very creepy. Like, given you're surrounded by hundreds of dolls, and then at night
Yeah.
you're surrounded by thousands of spiders, like,
Ugh.
yeah.
That was that one your favorite one?
No.
Oh, that is, yeah, I like
Yeah,
that one too.
that's not my favorite
What?
one.
Oh,
So, no.
it's not? Oh, holy shit.
Perfect.
Oh, that was really good though. I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I only have one case left, and it's slightly deeper dive because I just found it crazy.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like crazy.
So my last haunted doll is actually one that when I was looking up all these haunted dolls, when you look at and Google like haunted dolls and look at the lists that are supposed to list a bunch of them, they
Yeah.
pretty list like the same 6 over and over and over. And only
Yeah.
in one list did I find the one that I thought was the most interesting. And that's the one that I chose to do kind of like a deeper dive on. And that was because it was only listed on one list once. And it's actually
Wow.
not a creepy doll, it's actually rather cute. And the
That's
story
your
around it,
affiliation for liking these creepy dolls.
no, this one's not creepy at all.
Oh,
Like the story around it is kind of sad, but it's actually not very like scary or anything for a doll.
okay.
Yeah. So this doll is named Okiku. That's how I'm choosing to pronounce it.
I've definitely not heard of it. Cool.
Yeah, I never had either. So Okiku was purchased in 1918 by a man for his 2-year-old sister who was named Okiku. So Okiku, the
Your old
doll,
sister?
yeah.
Weird.
So I didn't really find much about like how old he was. For him to be referenced to as a man buying a doll for his 2-year-old sister. But
He was
that's what
6,
it was written
they were
as.
a man at 6 back in
Yeah,
those days.
in 1918. So the doll, Okiku, is approximately 40 centimeters tall and is dressed in a cute little kimono and has raven black hair that's cut, like sharply cut at shoulder length. So
Ooh,
cute
little
little like
Bob.
traditional, yeah, it's actually a traditional um hairstyle for these dolls. So Okiku the girl loved the doll and apparently carried it with her everywhere and treated it as if it was her own little sister, and she's the one that named it after herself, as she saw them as
Aw.
mirror duplicates. Yeah, so she had like the same hair, and she thought the doll looked like her, so she named the doll after her and like acted like the doll was her little sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
she wanted a little sister. That's cute.
Yeah. So in 1919, when Akiku um, was only 3, 1 year after getting the doll, she died
Uh-oh.
tragically of yellow fever.
No. How did I know you were going to say
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Of course.
So while she lay gasping for air, she was reportedly clutching the doll. At the time, the family actually wished to bury her with the doll because they had been so close. But because of the
Sure.
circumstances of yellow fever, um, which I found kind of strange. You think if she was like clutching it, and obviously if yellow fever was as contagious as it's made out to be, they probably would have wanted to bury it with her. But apparently at this time, for some reason, that the government prevented the family from burying her with the doll.
Oh,
So yeah. So
odd.
Okiku the girl has now passed away, and instead of her being buried with her favorite doll, the doll was placed in a traditional family altar in their house to honor their daughter. So
Oh
it was,
no.
yeah. So one day,
Please don't.
it's not creepy. Like, that's why I kind of liked this one, because for all the stuff that goes on,
Really?
this doll actually
Yeah.
isn't bad. It doesn't hurt
Okay.
anybody. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of strange. So
Right.
one day, when a family member was walking past the doll and looked at the altar for their daughter, they noticed that the hair on the doll was growing. So one shoulder length and pure bob, straight at the bottom, now hung past the waist of the doll and was in different textures and colors.
The
So
fuck?
it was, yeah. So it was around this time that the family actually started dreaming of their daughter. Um, and once awake, apparently the doll would be at their side. So
Oh my
infestation
God.
occurred. There was some lights flickering, banging sounds, strange voices heard around their daughter's birthday, as well as the anniversary of her death. So it was at
Wow.
this time that the family contacted shamans who concluded that their daughter's soul was trapped in the doll. So because she had died clutching this doll, um, her soul was trapped in the doll. So the family
Right.
did move houses in 8, and at this time, they didn't want to take the doll with them, as they believed that the soul trapped in the doll needed to stay close to her grave. They thought if they took the doll with her, it would mean that their daughter's soul died. So they asked that she stay close to her grave, so that her soul could stay in this little doll, even if they weren't around.
Oh.
Yeah, so they gave the doll to a local temple, and in the time that the temple has had this doll, they have confirmed the following. The hair does in fact grow, as the family described, and clippings were actually taken by the temple and sent away for scientific analysis, and it was confirmed that the hair on the doll was in fact human hair,
Oh, wow.
which is
That's
always
a
creepy.
twist.
So the hair at this time, and remember in 1918, this doll's hair was a bob at about shoulder length. So at this
Yeah.
time, the doll's hair has grown past its knees. This doll is 40 centimeters tall. So it has grown quite long.
They never
So
cut
the
it.
hair, they have cut it. So this is in between
Wow.
cuttings. Yeah. So the hair has grown past the doll's knees. It is trimmed by a monk at the temple who had a dream that the little girl, Okiku, came to
Hmm.
him asking him to cut her hair. So he cuts the doll's hair for her. But no
Wow.
one has been able to explain why the doll's hair keeps growing.
Yeah, no shit. Shouldn't be growing if
Yeah,
it's not embedded into living flesh.
right? Yeah. So the doll has
Wow.
become more infamous and stronger as years pass. There's now claims that her hair grows faster and wilder, and apparently that her mouth is slowly opening. So
No.
there's there's now apparently kind of a belief that if you peer or if you dare to peep inside her mouth, that you'll see little baby teeth growing from her little porcelain gums, which is
Ew.
creepy. But before
Heart is
you
creepy.
decide to like make that think that this little doll is creepy, if you actually Google this little doll, it is so cute in its little kimono, and its hair is really long. Like its hair is so
It's probably
long and like
beautiful hair too, I'm sure.
it's like
Like
stringy black, like straight hair.
stringy black. Ew, no, that sounds like the ring. I'll have to look at it.
Yeah, it's a cute little doll. Like,
Wow.
yeah. And that's
That
the
is
end of that. Yeah.
that is crazy. I have
I
never
tried
heard of
to,
that one.
I had tried to find a bit more information, but this was pretty much comprised of all I really could find um
Yeah, I
about
haven't
her.
been on any podcasts or anything. No.
Yeah. I don't think she's very well known. But like she lives at this temple still. The monks cut her hair. Um, there was also claims I didn't include it. There's also claims apparently that the doll has fingernails that grow. I don't really,
Oh my
that was only in
God.
one source that I ever saw. The rest of it just talks about her hair.
They're like,
But if
she
you,
is drinking her green tea, her hair is growing, her nails are looking lustrous.
yeah, but if you think
Oh
about the
my,
fact that this doll's hair has, like, the family moved in 1938, and like the family said before that the doll's hair was growing. So at least since 1938, when she's been living in this temple, these monks have been cutting her hair, and her hair has still grown from being shoulder length to past her knees, like in between
you
cuttings.
know,
So for
monks
the like this
themselves,
hair,
they're kind of almost a little creepy or strange in their own right. The way that some
Mhm.
um, Buddhist monks, like in Nepal, they're very like very extreme ones. Like they like stop eating a lot of things, and then they only eat certain things. Sometimes, and like kind of leading up to their death, so that their like bodies will be mummified easier. I feel like I'm not telling it really right, but
Okay.
it's just like crazy dedication to what they're trying to do.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you're like, what the heck? Like you're just getting your body ready and it's just a vessel and they're just treating it like that and they're just like almost starving themselves. I don't know. I'd have to look it up more, but it was definitely like, whew,
Hmm.
that's extreme.
Yeah. But if you anybody listening, do yourself a favor, look up all the dolls I mentioned. If you want to look up at a super creepy one, look up Letta. And then finish it off by looking at a cute little doll that's like has a little flower in her hair and has a cute little
Forever
kimono.
growing hair.
Yeah, like this doll's hair has grown from like her body proportions. Her head is maybe a fifth of what the rest of her body is. So for the fact that she went from shoulder length, like her hair has probably grown, like she's 40 centimeters tall. So her hair has probably grown 30 centimeters. They've let it grow, let alone all the times that they've cut it. in between that.
Uh,
Yeah.
Be hard to grow out of a shortcut, that's for sure. Seems like it takes forever.
Yeah.
Trying to grow your
But
hair
yeah,
out.
she's very
Wow.
cute. She's got a little golden shrine. She's got like gold all around her, flowers. Yeah.
Aw.
She's pretty cute for like a little doll that's over 100 years old. Most of them look pretty creepy, in my opinion. She looks like she could be sold on a shelf today, easily. Like she's in fantastic condition.
I wonder if that lack of creepiness factor is why she isn't maybe as well known as, say, Robert the Doll, or someone that might look a little creepier, or they could make, a creepy movie about and make it seem a little more sinister than it is, because they'd be like, oh, look at it. I
Yeah,
don't
see,
know.
like
This one,
everything.
they're like, her hair grew,
Yeah,
you
like when
know.
you look her up, um, everything pretty much says that she like puts like other haunted dolls to shame, like, and that she's the creepiest. But she's not like Annabelle, where people woke up and found blood on her dress. Like, other than
Right.
them having dreams and stuff of her family and lights
If you had
flickering.
to own a haunted doll, it would be her, right? Like that would be
Oh
your
yeah,
pick, because
hands
lesser
down.
of all evils.
Yeah.
Okay, agreed. Me too. That's what
Yeah,
we've
she's really
discovered.
cute.
Not likely to
Uh,
harm yourself or others.
no.
I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because you're cursed.
Yeah. You've been cursed.
You broke the mirror. You got that haunted painting. By the way, my mom just like always, yeah, she'll go to auctions and things, and then totally the type of person to have like a random person's portrait in her house. You're just like, do you know that
Ooh.
person in the black and white? No. Just as a
Oh, you
random
shouldn't do that.
kid. Oh, totally. It's like
Yeah.
antiquing. But I've never had any personal paranormal activities, so I can't really say shit. And in some ways, I'm glad for that.
My parents, one of their first houses that they owned, had a problem with the lights in the garage. Um, and every time they left the garage, as most people do, they turned the lights out. Um,
Yeah.
but no matter what, anytime you would go into the garage, the lights were on again, even if they had turned them off when they left.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, because mine will come on sort of automatically. So then I'll come out and they look like they've been on, and you're like, well, did you just turn on it, or have you been on this whole time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I will be posting a picture of each of the dolls for sure on the website.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, so if you want to follow along, we are posting the episodes on our website, and it's kind of a blog format, so you can follow along. And we have some pictures. I'm trying not to do too many pictures. Um, I know some things have like dozens and dozens of pictures per episode.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah. You could look
but
them up further if you want to, but it's good to have just the reference if someone's like talking about a person or how they look. It's nice to be able to be like, okay, here's a
yeah,
picture where they. Yeah.
yeah. So
Oh,
we're gonna post like a, at least a couple pictures like for each of our cases each week, but it's not gonna be like a whole huge slideshow thing of pictures. So
no. I'm
yeah,
sure there
but
are pictures available online of everything.
Yeah, but I will
or at
post
least
a
more.
picture of each of the dolls so that you guys can look at them as I tell you how creepy and or adorable I thought they were.
Yes, and you can Google us. I'm not sure exactly if it's still got the castlesencrypted.squarespace maybe.com, but
It's
definitely
still
Castles Encrypted.
Squarespace, but when you Google Castles
Yes.
Encrypted now, it shows up. It until
Yay!
today, it didn't show up when you Googled us. So I think it's because I attempted to Google us about 20 times a day, every day for 2 weeks straight. So I'm pretty sure I single-handedly messed up Google's algorithm. And then it's like, wow, this
Well,
website's in high demand.
oh, yeah. And on that note, our Patreon is also coming soon to a Patreon near you. I do have
Yeah.
did just seeing like, yeah, what people want to see for content for their Patreon. Like I kind of got some ideas because some of the Patreons that I subscribe to, and what I kind of like to see or hear, but we definitely like to hear feedback. Of what you
Yeah,
guys
what kind
want
of
us, extra content. Yeah, definitely going to be some bonus episodes and some things like that. So stay tuned.
yeah.
Well, perfect. Oh, that was really good. I like your cases.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to if you're gonna look up any of them. Well, you said you hadn't heard of Letta either.
No, not at all.
No. It's just
Robert the doll,
Letta.
the doll. Those are really the only two main ones I know. Robert the doll, Peggy the doll, which both I think we're covered extensively on, and that's why we drink. And I just love a good deep dive on something. If there's enough that they're, you can be
Ooh,
like,
Peggy is
okay, this person
creepy.
saw this. Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah,
what you said you
Peggy
kept getting
looks
listed like
creepy.
six of them. She wasn't on the regular list of the top
No,
six or what you kept seeing?
no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I recommend them sometimes for like the deep dives on the paranormal and stuff. The Winchester house that you mentioned earlier was one that M covered in their first episode. But then they were like, I think they were at like episode 200 or something, and they were like, kind of wanted to go back and recover some of them where they were like, we didn't know how to research maybe as well back then. And then they like redid Winchester House. And I was like, wow, like sometimes I'm just impressed the amount of content and information someone can get out of one case, like one deep dive where you're like, whoa, like I definitely prefer that oftentimes to like maybe a 30-minute kind of shallow dive where you just get the bare bones. You know what I mean? Like you know
Yeah.
about it, but then maybe you have to like listen to 5 things or read 5 articles before you get some new source of information. Where if you get one big deep dive on it, you're gonna get all of that. Oh, like when we get to the hotel episode, I did a case that I really wasn't familiar with, but there was quite a few different actual sources on it when I did look it up. Like there was podcasts, some articles. There's obviously usually like a Wikipedia, which I try not to rely too much on, but it was kind of like, holy shit, okay, I don't really know this one, but there's actually, different opposing views and stuff. And it can almost get confusing because then it was like the timeline was getting a little convoluted. I had to actually go back. I'm like, Wikipedia, at least you have a timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's gonna be
mine is like so weird. I like,
That's our next one, right? That's our next is our hotels
yeah.
from hell episode, right? Yeah. That's gonna be good. I'm excited.
Yeah, like none of Peggy the doll did not show up. I don't think on anything I looked up.
I think I heard it on and That's Why We Drink. I think.
Yeah, like
I
this says
definitely
she's
remember
in
because
the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum in Las Vegas that we were planning on going to. We would have gotten to see her too.
Definitely Christine from And That's Why We Drink watches Ghost Adventures. She'll always talk about Zach Bagans, and like it's funny because I think she talks about for a while like he like blocked her because she was like messaging him too much or something. I don't know. Sometimes their shit is funny. Like it's funny. Like the one host M got like verified on Instagram like without almost even trying, like way before the other host, and so it kind of became like you know the comic like a gag.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't. And then she was like, Christine was like blocked by Zach Bagans or something at one point, or they'll call him like Zach Bagel Bites. I don't know. That's funny. But everyone talks about it and they call him like kind of corny, so I don't really always want to watch it. Where I like Ghost Hunters, we've watched a lot of seasons of, and they're like the two main guys there are like they're like plumbers during the day. They're very much like kind of not necessarily totally skeptical, but you know what I mean? Like they're there to debunk stuff as well if they
Yeah.
can, right? So yeah, it's an interesting perspective, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was
I
awesome.
was so
Ooh,
upset though that I couldn't find like
yeah.
because I wanted to do my entire thing about like haunted like ventriloquist dolls because I thought that would be like the creepiest
Mm.
thing ever. And then I couldn't find a
Right.
single one.
Wow.
And then when I was
That's
trying to
annoying.
Google stuff, when I was trying to Google like haunted
Hmm.
dolls, a lot of it was just like Etsy on how to make your own haunted doll, and then Amazon and eBay on haunted dolls that are just dolls people buy from like Value Village and put on the internet as haunted.
Totally.
So I was
A
like, oh my
buddy
God.
from True. Oh, he was reading some of the descriptions. It was like super haunted, blah blah blah. It's like where people are trying to like talk things up and you can tell. And you're like, okay, buy this.
Yeah.
It haunted me. It haunted my daughter. Yeah, we felt so strange around it, and it's all cap.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 3. Yeh Cursed!
Yeah,
But you won't be
we
now, I promise.
we have cleansed you of this episode. Woo! Sage blessing to you via the internet.
When in doubt, sage it out. Sage it out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, we're very pure of spirit, but we want you to join us next time to continue the blessings. And next time we'll be talking
Some
about
creepy
what are we talking
hotel crimes. So true crime next week.
about? Hotels. Hellish
Yeah.
hotels. Yeah. I'm excited. There's some shit that goes down in hotels. And we're not just gonna cover like what everyone's talking about right now, like
No.
Hotel.
I
No.
think if we do cover Cecil Hotel or anything, it's gonna be not just Elisa Lam, because in my opinion her case is solved, and unfortunately it's just sad. I don't think there's a lot of like mystery to it. And other than like
That one was a fucked up too. Yeah, I like it. I agree it's fucked up and it's good to be covered, but I know that there's obviously a 6-part miniseries like out on Netflix, so there is a lot going on with that hotel. I'm sure we couldn't even cover it in a 1-parter. So I think we're gonna avoid that one for right now, but that means we're gonna get some really obscure, really fucked up ones that you probably haven't heard before.
I think I had to go to page like 18 or 19 of Google in hotel crimes or hotel murders, I think I looked up, to find anything that wasn't about the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah, that was gonna be harder to find. Yeah, and that's why I appreciate when you get a story where you're like, maybe you're watching a show or you're listening to something, and you're like, I've not heard of this, and you're kind of like, whoa. Leave that for another day, I guess.
Next week for other haunted or mysterious hotel crimes. Mine's
probably one you've not seen on Netflix. At least mine I had not heard of, but I love it. It's interesting.
Is kind of confusing. There's a lot of like discrepancies in the reporting and names of people and stuff, but the information that I could track down was pretty consistent from one topic to the other. So, yeah, I think it's really good. It has pretty much a little bit of pretty much anything you could hope in a true crime story. It has. So, yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's gonna be a good episode then, because mine is. I found it
mine
really
you could
intriguing as
probably
well.
work into pretty much like 8 other like topics. Like you could have picked this case. Like there's so much going on.
Okay, it's good we're doing this like on a day where we
Yeah.
have a whole night. That's gonna be awesome. All right. All right. Well, join us next time on Castles and Cryptids. The
Yeah, real
castles are
haunted.
fucking haunted. We will get to them when we will get to the cryptids. In fact, we're thinking, I had a Patreon idea and it's out there in the tiers. You know, choose your own cryptid. It's kind of a fan picker. If you're going to do a certain tier, you can pick what the episode you want to hear about, you know, theme is going to be. So I think that's going to be fun too. So we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. But there's definitely going to be lots of cool stuff to come. So catch us next time.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.